dash right to live. Everyone's on the hunt, every man ought to give generously.
We are at the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service in Monrepo Roundabout in San Fernando. Today we will get a better insight on the life of a firefighter. We will be speaking with Divisional Fire Officer Robert Dukey. Welcome.
Thank you, ma'am. And firstly, let me express my thanks and courtesies to the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Marlon Smith, for permitting this interview to showcase and highlight Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service and some of our core functions.
DFO Dukey, how long have you been in this business of saving lives as a firefighter?
Ma'am, I have dedicated selflessly 33 plus years of my life to ensure the safety and the protection of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and its great citizens.
How has your division adjusted to this new COVID-19 pandemic?
Fire Service is an adaptable organization. Its culture and its resilience has put us in a good space. There wasn't much difficulty in adjusting to the new normal. The Chief Fire Officer, in his wisdom, sets out station notice policies that guide us in a fire station. Coupled with those policies implemented without much difficulties and coupled with the Ministry of Health protocols, we are in a safe place. And I want to extend my gratitude and thanks to the firefighting population of Southern Division for adhering to these new policies that would protect us all in the future.
So in other words, as a firefighter, with the new COVID-19 protocols, you all have adjusted quite well?
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. On the onset of this protocol, there were some quarantine periods that personnel were sent on quarantine. And realizing the quantum or the amount of people on the quarantine, we had to rotate the personnel for their safety. And there are instances where we would have job or augmentation of the strength for a particular station. So let us say a particular shift at a particular station was quarantined, we would augment from a separate and different station to have our efficient and effective firefighting provided to the citizenry.
How are you dealing with clients? For instance, you get a call and you have to, your ambulance will have to go to a location to take care of a citizen. How do you handle that in this time?
We expect or we implore the citizenry to limit their contact with fire stations. They can call, they have the number, they can access these services via phone. We have prepped our gowns, our gloves, our masks, our protection to enable us to facilitate dealing with patients. I, however, request that, for example, an ambulance request, as you mentioned, the caller would have the necessary medications if the patient is on meds, the date, the relative data per se. So our downtime at the residence or our downtime at the home should be minimized as much as possible, thereby reducing the possible risk of contracting the COVID-19.
And do you ever have persons coming in to report, to make a report on an incident, coming here to the fire station at all?
We try to limit the interaction at a station level. However, there are instances where people around will come in the station. They would interact with the control room or the watchroom per se. Those are internal jargons. They are protected. The sentry ladders are protected with mirrors and a wicket, so the contact is limited. And of course, 6 feet. We will take the necessary information and dispatch the necessary appliances as need be.
So DFO Dukey, how has COVID-19 affected your station in terms of manpower?
It has affected us in many ways. With the advent of the COVID, our normal routine or normal working hours have changed a bit. We have a rotation to avoid affecting the masses or the watch per se. So we have a rotation. If an event that a particular watch at a station is affected by the COVID, we would seek to augment that particular watch or station from another station. right? So alleviating and providing an efficient and effective firefighting medium, emergency to the citizenry.
So, Officer Dukey, in addition to fire protection, what other services does the fire service provide?
In the organization, there are many sections and departments, all complement each other. We have EMTBs attached to the ambulance section that provide ambulance services. We have emergency rescue. We have emergency rescue via the LSAR. They even employ them as reference to flooding in the flood-prone areas in Southern Division, namely Pinal, Debe area. We have fire prevention that provides risk assessment and subsequent fire and life safety certificate. They also provide training in terms of lectures, fire prevention lectures. We have the Brigade Engineer Department that provides record and wrecking service, and so many other services. In excess of 15 services, such services.
DFO Dukey, what is the feeling like after rescuing someone from an incident?
It's a sense of accomplishment, fulfillment, and we would have trained and practiced for these events. And it's a sort of refreshing idea to know that what you have been taught and mentored actually come to pass in exercising a rescue.
Officer Dukey, in your lifetime as a firefighter, what is the most memorable or striking incident that you've ever experienced?
Ma'am, you jolt my memory. Probably around 1988, most devastating fatal fire, probably in the history of Trinidad and Tobago, occurred in St. Madeleine, where 9 people perished. I, as a young firefighter, witnessed, endured, and subsequently suffered from post-traumatic stress syndrome. A lot of us on the shift had that post-traumatic stress syndrome. In those days, it was unfamiliar for us. Probably England would have diagnosed that particular ailment. And it took me over 3 months, 4 months to come to the understanding or the realization that it was internal to me and not the scent of burning flesh that etched in my memory, not physical. I came to the realization that I have to move on, and so I did. But that was the most outstanding, infamous incident I remember in my 33 years.
So you experienced something traumatic. Was there anyone to talk to at that time about that incident? Professional to go to, or your bosses to talk to? Just to share your experience and let them know how you felt. Was that available to you and other firefighters back then?
Definitely not. We have come of age though. There's an employee assistance program that we could tap into. There's also a chaplain in fire service that we could tap into. And incidentally, in Southern Division, we can beckon Mr. Patrick Silly, a former chief fire officer who happens to be a counselor and a religious individual. Our present time, just not the COVID we'll deal with from a medical aspect, we'll also deal with the spiritual and the psychological aspect.
Okay, so now back to COVID. DFO Dukey, what procedures do you have in place for one of your officers who is tested positive?
Right. There are protocols via station notice from the chief fire officer. If someone should contract and become positive, that particular station, on receiving that information, will be isolated. We will summon our sanitizing department. They will come and sanitize the station with the firefighters away from the station but in the compound. Sanitize. We will refer contact tracing in the station here. We will refer all members of that particular station affected to the relevant health authority or health center for processing. To maintain a business continuity program, there is where the augmentation comes in, or the rotation. So we will facilitate that particular watch with replacement officers for business continuity.
And how do you handle contact tracing?
As a preliminary method, we at the station, our admin, will, once we get the confirmation that somebody is positive, we will call him via his cell phone and inquire from him as to who he would come in contact with, developing a contact tracing documentation, verifiable contact. Then we will submit that to the relevant Victoria CMOH office for processing.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so very much.
Ma'am, you're most welcome
Fuduki.
on your organization, and happy Labor Day 2021.
Okay, and so now we have a treat for you. Dear Fuduki will allow us to view one of their fire trucks. So we will get a tour of the fire truck, and that will be done by Officer Alexander.
Okay, so today we're going to introduce to you a very important piece of equipment that's designed specifically for the firefighter, and it's the SCBA, or self-contained breathing apparatus. My colleague here, Firefighter Joseph, is going to demonstrate to you the parts and how it is used. Now, we use SCBA in the fire service to protect us when we go into fire situations where there's a lot of smoke and dust and the atmosphere is not breathable. We can also use it in confined spaces. Now, as you can see in front of you, the SCBA, or what we call it for short BA, comprises of a cylinder, which is filled with compressed air, approximately 2,400 liters of air, as well as a backpack or harness in which the firefighter uses to put on his back. Along the backpack, there's a line which contains a regulator that attaches to the face piece. So there he goes, attaching the regulator to the face piece. Once it's connected and it's put on, the firefighter can breathe air, natural air. So now my colleague is going to put on, or what we call, rig the BA set. Right, so as you can see, he puts it on just like a backpack. And he tightens the strap, and then what he would normally do is put on the face piece and turn on the air. And it's as simple as that. So again, I would like to stress the importance of the BA set to the firefighter. It's a life-saving device. It assists the firefighter when he goes into fire situations or situations where the air is inadequate.
Good afternoon, Trinidad and Tobago. What you heard there is the emergency alarm tone of Divisional Headquarters South. We have the crew of the First Run Appliance setting up the Hallmatro rescue tool. The unit was just started. They are about to connect the hoses and have two pieces of equipment working at the same time. So this set the operating pressure, maximum is 10,000 psi, affectionately known as the jaws of life. Right now the spreader is operating and the telescopic ram is about to be operated. We have the cutter at work here now. We have our First Strike appliance, which is a Scania P360 outfitted by Rosenbauer. It seats 4 firefighters to the rear, the driver and the officer to the front. So to the rear we have 4 firefighters can be seated, a driver and an officer to the front. This first locker here is where we have our rescue equipment, the Hall Matro and its accessories. We also have our disc cutter and chainsaw, electrical reels and spot lamps, all used in rescues at various times. So we have a stock of hose on this side, and this is replicated on the other side, and also absorbent material for oil and fuel spills. So we have our hose reel. It's a smaller hose that we use. It saves a lot of water, right? And it's a quick attack. You have your hygiene station where you could use air. You have soap. You have water to clean up afterwards. And you have your deliveries here where the hoses would be attached. So to the back here is our pump. This has an NH35 pump that can pump 3,000 liters a minute at 10 bars. You have controls to bring down your ladder. As I press, let's look at the top. It's automated. I have light and tower control. I could also start the vehicle and switch it off from here. So a lot of things are replicated on this side. You have your hose reel again. Deliveries to connect your hose, branch pipes. We have other accessories, dividing, breaching, collecting head, those kind of things. We have more hose on this end, foam making equipment, a ground monitor. The ladder that you saw on top is a 14-meter extension ladder, and the truck also holds 4,000 liters of water. So we have a portable pump here that we use as a backup pump in case the major pump fails, or if we need to lift water in an area that the truck can't reach, that's inaccessible. So you have Halligan tool, bowl cutter, cutlasses, wrench, a lot of tools firefighters have to use, sometimes to gain entry. So at the firefighter's toolbox. We have a Veta lifting system where we can put it under a vehicle, inflate it and lift the vehicle off someone in quick time. And believe it or not, this truck costs close to $2.5 million to the taxpayer.
So in front of you is what we call the hose laying lorry. It's a specialized firefighting appliance. So inside this fire appliance contains hose of varying lengths. It contains approximately 3 kilometers of firefighting hose, 120 millimeter, 90 and 70 millimeter. It has a pump at the back which has a capacity of pumping 4,000 liters of water per minute. This hose laying lorry allows us to lift water from the ocean and onto a fire scene. As well, there are various couplings contained in the locker to be able to go from a 120 millimeter size hose down to a 90 millimeter hose. In front, to the top, you can see a monitor, what we call a monitor. Water can be pumped from the appliance through the monitor and onto the fire scene. That pumps approximately 3,000 liters per minute.
Right, so we have our 2 motorbikes here that we have riders for, outriders. They are used for parades to assist in traffic control when large appliances have to respond, and also to transport sensitive documents to the ministry, to the CFO, and that sort of stuff.
All men try to be happy with endless search for luxury. In search of peace and happiness, the human mind wouldn't rest. A concern nag within we soul, demanding respect from the world. We get the urge in different forms, but luxury is the norm. Money is very essential, but can't buy peace of mind at all. We still like dogs without a bone if we have the money alone. Because appreciation based on the human mind. Everyone needs some more happiness all the time. Because important if we are trying to live. Everyone's on the hunt, every man ought to give generously. Feeling has no barrier. Race and class doesn't matter. Once you are alive, you in the game. You do anything to get a good name. Some wealthy men turn to suicide. Can't buy food to feed their pride. The aged and crippled in the ring fight to feel like a king. Children become delinquent. For lack of love from their parents. That's why appreciation is most important to man. And I know appreciation based on the human mind. Everyone needs some more happiness all the time. Because important if we are trying to live. Everyone appreciation based on the human mind. Everyone needs love for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are striving to live, everyone's on the hunt, every man ought to give. Appreciation based on the human mind. Everyone needs some for happiness all the time. Because important, if we are striving to live, everyone's on the hunt, every man ought to give.